Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're in my living room because my Fluval 5-gallon spec needs some attention. Now, if you've been around for a while, this houses a Betta that I took over from one of my customers named Sid Fishes, who is named by you guys. And this tank has been running for, I think, 2.5 years at this point. And it's gone through many transformations, but it's sort of overgrown. It's having a bit of an algae problem, and I just need to get a handle on things. I've talked to you guys a lot in the past about how it's an obstacle for me to have aquariums in our actual living space because I spend so much time down in the fish room and out at the greenhouse. And as usual, this one is getting a bit neglected. Now, it still gets its water changes, but I just haven't done anything with the plants or really anything other than turn the light on and off, feed Sid, and do my water changes. So we're gonna give it some attention today and just have a bit of a chit chat while we do so. Everyone that's new here, welcome. I thank you for joining us. Everyone that's been around for a while, welcome back. I thank you for joining me. And thank you guys for the 100K. I'll have a special video coming out. I'm not exactly sure when to thank you guys properly for that. But for now, let's get to work on this little spec and just discuss what's to expect in the upcoming weeks. Now, as you guys know, I have been traveling non-stop for the past month. In fact, I think I've been away more than I've been home, and because of that, a lot of my normal stuff that I do in my various aquariums has sort of been put on hold. So I was thinking about possibly going daily for the next week or two as I get caught up, just to make it easier to do updates for you guys. Otherwise, the videos will be insanely long. So let me know down below if you like that idea. Right now, I'm just going to pull out some of this overgrown moss, some dead leaves, wedge Anubias back where they belong, and then we'll drain some water and see what's going on in this aquarium. Now, if you guys are new here, I do have a Betta care video, which I can link you to. I'll pull this out. All I'm doing here is simply removing any leaves that don't look good on these Anubias, or if they have algae. I'm just going to remove that. Now, I'm tempted to do a peroxide treatment on this aquarium, but I have, if you guys remember, I added a ton of blue shrimp, and shrimp can be a bit more sensitive to anything that we do to try and deal with algae, so I'm going to start here with a manual removal. And this tank is planted with a bunch of volunteer mosses, Bucephalandras, Anubias, some various crypts, some Echinodorus rennie, which is a very small sword, and all of these were Tropica plants, and I have been super happy with how they've done. In fact, this tank, despite just using kit lighting, is constantly overgrown, which I guess is a good problem to have. But as you can see, this moss has sort of taken over everything, so I need to remove a lot of it, as lots of my other plants are being buried inside of it. Now this is Anubias bonsai, and it's my particular favorite, so I want it to be visible in this aquarium. But what's happening is the moss is getting so long, it's actually shading itself, and we're getting some brown spots through here because of that. So I'm just gonna whack it back a bit and see how it goes. Oh my word, there's so much moss in here. I'm gonna go ahead and finish with this moss, and then we'll take a closer look. So I went ahead and pulled out a ton of plant matter from this aquarium. I'll show you the end result of all the things I pulled out in a moment, but you can see there's much more open swimming room for Sid. And there's still a dense area of plants in here for the shrimp to hide out in, as I do want them to do well and thrive in here. I mean, I guess about 1.5 years ago I had added some Amano shrimp, and I thought that Sid had eaten them, and it turns out they're all still in here. I saw them earlier this week. There's also some blue neocaridina that I moved in here from working with them out in the summer tubs. I'm going to go ahead and change about 30% of this water, refill it, and then I think I'm going to put some of the Tropica fertilizer in there because I'm getting a bit of cladophora algae down here in my hair grass. And, you know, since I'm not running CO2 and I'm not dosing regularly, it's really not at all surprising that I'm getting algae in this aquarium. And if I'm being honest, it really doesn't bother me. The glass is always clear. The plants are relatively healthy. The fish is super happy. He's constantly bubble nesting, and the shrimp are breeding and thriving. You can see there's an ammono right there. So I owe Sid an apology because I thought he had eaten them all, and it turns out they're alive and well. Although apparently impossible to focus on. But you can see some of the clado algae that's infiltrating things around in there. But the hope is that by clearing out some of the space in this aquarium, I'll be able to actually see the shrimp a bit more, but they'll still have plenty of spaces to hide. And trust me when I say all of this moss will grow back. So this is the plant mass that I took out. You can see it's quite a lot. I still have a few little buces and anubias to add back in, but I'm going to do my water change first and then see where the holes are. There's still a couple leaves to trim, but I think it's looking better already, and certainly setting it up for a much nicer viewing experience. I'll take this opportunity as well to pull out the filter sponges and rinse them. You guys, I have this giant houseplant growing in the filter. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but you can see that the roots have completely infiltrated this sponge. It's kind of neat. It's done really well. Helps me sort of keep up all my maintenance, but I'm just going to squeeze this sponge and rinse it in the tank water that I just removed, and then put it back in there. It's actually not even that dirty, but it's not a bad idea to do this each time you do a water change. Now, because I have a well, I don't need to dechlorinate this water. I'm pretty lucky. I can just temperature match and add it back to the aquarium. Then we'll let it run for a bit and get some glamour footage for you guys. One thing that I will do when I have this water change water is, if you remember correctly, I made some air plant wall planters. I'll take those air plants and just dip them into that water. I'll also take this opportunity to clean my glass with a razor blade. There's nothing visible on it, but it can't hurt. And then I'll wipe down the outer glass as well. Throw a couple of these anubias back in that I pulled out, and then we'll take a look. This is Bucephalandra Mini Catherine. I think it's particularly appropriate for these little tiny tanks. Just the scale of it matches really well, and I have quite a lot in here. It's one of the reasons I wanted to pull out the moss, is that it was sort of hiding all the really cool buces and anubias that I have in here. I also had an extremely large amount of subwassertang infiltrating the moss. It's a really neat plant, but I never put it in this aquarium, and I never intended for it to be in here, so I just remove it as I see it, because in my mind it's kind of a pest because it grows so fast. Which, you know, there's worse problems to have. So, I mean, this is by no means a really, detailed trim, but I certainly did open up a bunch more space. And I'll take all, oh my gosh, look at this piece of Anubias that was hiding inside this moss. Wow, I didn't even know I pulled that out. We'll have to put that back in there somewhere too. Now I do leave this thicket up here because that's where Sid likes to hang out to bubble nest. I am going to pull off some of this subwassertang just so that these nice Anubias can get a little more light. Watch out, Sid. There we go. There we go. We'll let this clear up. It's really not bad. I need to wipe down the glass, and then I'll show you guys what I do with all the extra plants. This is the amount of moss alone I took out of this aquarium. That's easily a compressed softball. Hard to believe this much extra plant matter was in there. I think this looks so much tidier, yet still has quite a lot of plant matter in there. It's going to make it much more enjoyable for me to look at while I'm spending time in my living room. There's one of the Amano shrimp that I accused him of eating. As we can see, it's certainly alive and well and quite sizable. And by clearing out some of these plants, it'll have a better shot at eating some of that algae. Amanos are incredible algae eaters, but not if there's tastier things for them to eat, and, you know, not if they can't get to the algae. So I'm hoping that this will help it do a bit better of a job managing some of the cladoalgae and hair algae in this aquarium. Sid's up there in his corner where he likes to hang out and bubble nest. In fact, I would expect him to do a bubble nest anytime now. Let's see if we can find some of the blue shrimp to show you guys. They're looking really beautiful in here. There's one hanging out in that Bucephalandra there, which you can see a bit better. You can see the hair grass on this side is growing much better than on the other side, probably because it wasn't totally shaded out by moss. But also this is an area of pretty decent flow in the aquarium, which I'm sure helps as well. This is more Bucephalandra Catherine, Mini Catherine, there's some Anubias bonsai, some of that stringy moss. The hair grass and Cladophora algae carpet. This is some sort of crypt that I'm not entirely sure what type it is. And there's a little teeny tiny sword at the base of it that isn't particularly visible right now. One other thing that I really like that has happened on its own in this aquarium is that the moss has filled in where those filter cartridge slots are, which makes it a much safer environment for the Neocaridina shrimp that are breeding in here. Here's one up in the front now. I mean, they're just absolutely gorgeous. I'm super tickled that Sid has decided them worthy of living with him. Because they just add another element of beauty. And I like that they're the exact same color as Sid, as corny as that sounds. There's, I guess, about 20 of them in here at this point because they have been breeding. Again, they're doing really, really well and are just actively always picking and working on all the various surfaces of the aquarium. So I'm going to go grab my air plants and dip them into my bucket. But let me know down below, do you guys want to see daily content? I have to do updates on pretty much all of the aquariums that I set up. The new fish, my 75-gallon South American, the new Blackwater aquarium, my new shrimp, the fish that I pulled in from the bins. I need to show you guys how I overwintered my bog garden, and it just seems like an awful lot of stuff to try and cram into videos every few days. So I think I'm going to go for it, and I hope that you guys will be along for the ride. So this is my bucket of dirty tank water, and I just take these tillandsias, these little air plants, and dunk them in there and let them sit for a few minutes, and then I'll pull them out and hang them back up on the wall. And and so far they've been doing really, really, really well with this treatment. I think these guys are looking awesome. This one's still flowering. But yeah, so far so good. Super low maintenance. I think it looks pretty cool. Now I have been having issues with some of them that my cats are jumping up the walls to eat them, so that's less than desirable. But if you guys are interested in making something like this, check out that video. And also make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything like this. I really enjoy doing a wide range of things, and I have some exciting things planned for you guys. So for my extra moss, I literally just throw it in a vase and put it in a sunny window. And then when I water my windowsill plants each week, I change the water in the moss, and it grows pretty well. It stays nice and green, and then I have it to use in aquascapes as needed.